there's some disagreement between the Sheriff's Office and the Board of Commissioners on the budget appropriations. Find that, sorry. On the budget appropriations made for 2016, and there was a press release put out by the Sheriff's Office kind of sharing their view on the budget. And I think we felt as a commission that this necessitated a response. Rather than go out as a press release, this is a letter directly to the sheriff. As a board, we normally would, we should approve any action in a public meeting for signature of the board, and would like to ask if there's anybody that would like to testify on this issue. Mary Jean Herbacek.
I will. Mary Jean Herbacek, and I'm a resident of Mason County. I looked yesterday and there wasn't a copy in the read-ahead. So what exactly?
It was put on late in the day because it was that morning where the board agreed to put on the agenda, so it got on in the afternoon.
So is there a possibility you could read it now so I could find out what's in it?
It's a 5-page letter.
Okay, then that kind of really points out.
And then I'll ask the commission if they would like it to be read out loud.
More than welcome to. 5 pages. You could also give her a copy of it.
I'd be more than happy to get you a copy. I'd like to keep it in front of me.
I think it would be appropriate to ask the people who are attending if maybe they wanted to hear it, because they're the ones that would have to invest their personal time.
That's kind of unusual. Would you?
Well, I was just disappointed that I wasn't able to read it yesterday, and I don't check your website after work hours, generally.
I expected to see it today.
Commissioner Sheldon, do you have any objection to me reading the letter?
Well, Madam Chair, I don't have any objection reading the letter. I do have, I should tell you that I'm not going to be a part of signing this letter after reading it, and I have some serious reservations about its wording, especially the first sentence. I think the budget process is not solely the responsibility of the Board of County Commissioners. I think it's a shared responsibility with all the electeds and department heads and the Board of County Commissioners. But so I have some serious issues with the letter, and I do not want my name attached to it as it reads now.
Why don't I read page 1?
Okay.
And,
We'll go back and forth. Okay.
wait a minute, I'll just get the page. Flip that page. Okay. Sheriff Salisbury. The Mason County budget process is where the rubber meets the road, managing the resources and expenditures of the entire county, and is solely the responsibility of the Mason County Board of County Commissioners. This is how the BOCC implements its programs. We prioritize the needs of the citizens by utilizing its resources. The process begins with a request by the elected officials and departments to the BOCC for resources to meet their individual agency needs, the preliminary budget. Then modifications are made to the preliminary budget prior to the adoption. During the process of negotiating the desired expenditures with available revenues, while managing overall program priorities, in this process, a complete understanding of expenditures is essential, including a desire to prioritize needs versus wants. Relative the resources available for all functions of county government, the Board of County Commission takes our role of overall fiduciary management seriously, and it requires having a clear and accurate picture of the costs of providing county services for the benefit of the citizens of Mason County. The board implemented a 2 bottom-line budget to better differentiate necessary from discretionary expenditures. The citizens expect the commissioners to be responsible stewards of their tax payments and expect us to provide well-informed fiscal management of their hard-earned monies. A status quo plus budget can only be an accurate account of necessary expenditures when the baseline amount was accurate to begin with. After close analysis of the Mason County Sheriff's Office 2016 preliminary budget proposal, it was found requested expenditures in the categories of wages and benefits and ER&R were over budgeted in 2015 and should not be considered a baseline for 2016. Therefore, reductions were made in those categories to reflect actual costs for 2016. In addition, the supplemental budget appropriation for outsourcing of jail inmates is not considered part of the 2015 baseline. The budget guidelines state, item A, baseline budget, your 6/30/15 approved budget subtotaled by salaries and benefits and operational costs. So otherwise in June. By the BOCC, by statute, is the body that is responsible to manage the revenues and expenditures of the county by establishing the priorities for the county and by deciding how all county resources are spent. The Board of County Commissioners is adopting a two bottom line budget, manages these priorities by bringing a level of accountability and to the expenditures in all offices and departments, requiring all involved to fully and accurately disclose expenditure needs. Your office acknowledges utilizing salary and benefits budgets to fund unexpected operational needs. By adopting two bottom line budgets, the BOCC is eliminating the practice of overspending county resources for unbudgeted discretionary expenditures.
Following is an analysis of the specific budget categories in question. 2015 baseline budget. Your office contends the 2015 budget was $13,228,277 and should be used as the base upon which the 2016 budget should be considered. Your 2015 adopted budget on June 30th, 2015, defined by the budget guidelines as the baseline, was $12,849,357, not $13,228,277. The $378,920 difference reflects an exigent, one-time and unexpected budget supplemental increase. By definition, a one-time unexpected expenditure which a budget supplement is designed to address is not a recurring expenditure and should not be summarily added into subsequent budgets without due and proper consideration. In any case, $300,000 was added to your 2016 budget to address jail inmate outsourcing in 2016. Wages and benefits. Your office contends the adopted 2016 budget did not adequately fund $420,513 in costs incurred in the contractual obligations committed to by the BOCC in their negotiations with the Sheriff's Office Employees Guild deputy sheriffs. Your office is requesting payroll expenditure increases of $420,513 to your 2015 baseline budget, bringing your 2016 payroll costs to $10,753,012. The Mason County Auditor's Payroll Office confirmed our finding that the 2016 payroll cost for your office will be $10,327,599. The actual cost of your payroll for your 2016 adopted budget per the Mason County Auditor's Payroll Office was accurately budgeted and does not require additional funding. Equipment rental and revolving costs. You contend the 2015 ER&R budget was not overstated $100,000, and the 2016 Sheriff's Office budget does not require a $100,000 reduction from your 2015 budget base. The 2015 Public Works ER&R rate for your office was $461,729. The 2015 ER&R rate budgeted was $587,300, $125,571 higher than the Public Works rate. The 2016 Public Works ER&R rate is $474,794,000, $16,065 more than the 2015 Public Works ER&R rate, requiring a reduction in the 2016 Sheriff's Office ER&R budget of $112,506. And then there's some math here to show that difference.
Also, the math is showing funding of your office. The 2016 adopted budget for your office was calculated as follows. Baseline budget, $12,849,357. Wage and benefit contracts, $0. ER&R adjustments, negative $100,000. Income inmate outsourcing, positive $300,000. Patrol vehicles, positive $375,000. New Bodine deputy, positive $83,000. Loan installments, positive $164,000. Total budget, $13,671,357. 2016 adopted budget, was $13,759,259. So above the directed increase was $87,902. Courthouse security and litter programs. Recently, your office announced that you are transferring the courthouse security and weapon screening programs and the litter control program back to the Board of County Commissioners. Courthouse security and weapon screening. Your 2016 preliminary budget request for the courthouse security and weapons screening program was to staff 3 community service officers at $192,434. The program was fully funded at $192,434 for the 3 community service officers in the 2016 budget. However, due to the lack of available staffing, the actual cost of the courthouse security weapons screening program is not salaries and benefits, but rather professional services, as a security company is providing these services at present. If your office had presented a budget that requested the additional funding required for courthouse security and weapons screening, it would have been considered by the Board of County Commissioners. But since you did not, these issues could not have been resolved during the budget process. The Board of County Commissioners is still willing to meet with your office to discuss your needs and identify these excess costs and meet all the financial needs of this very important program. Your undersheriff stated on 2/18/16 that this security service costs $17,000 per month and amounts to $205,000 a year. Based on the contract, the daily cost to service security is $772.82 daily. Considering 251 days of service needs in the year, the annual cost is $193,979 for service from 8 a.m. to 5:30. Any overtime the courts may require is at a cost of $76.50 per hour for an armed and an unarmed security guard. Not knowing how much may be needed for this, but estimating 2 hours per week may require an additional $7,956, which is 76.5 per hour times 2 weekly, 52 weeks a year, $7,956, for a total of $201,935. The 2 bottom line budget restrictions your office from encumbering the operations component of the budget without proper funding. Your office was asked to submit a budget transfer forms and to brief the Board of County Commissioners with the issues regarding the staffing as well as the need to continue the professional services contract. This briefing did not happen. However, in efforts to not allow invoices to go unpaid, the Board of County Commissioners approved the transfer to operations from salaries and benefit components of the 2016 budget for courthouse security and weapons screening.
Litter collection program. In the 2016 preliminary budget, your office did not request any funding for the litter collection program at all. Upon discussion with the Board of County Commissioners during budget briefings, it was decided the 2016 budget should reflect the cost represented in the Department of Ecology litter grant application and fund $81,553 into the program. Your office, when submitting your 2016 adopted budget detail, only funded $66,076, under allocating the grant program by $15,477. This balance was allocated to other sheriff's special fund activities. Subsequently, your office contends you are shouldering the cost of overruns associated with the litter collection program in excess of $46,000, not including management time and personnel supplied by the jail staff. If your office had presented a preliminary budget that requested the additional funding required for litter control program, it would have been considered by the Board of County Commissioners. Since they did not, these issues could not have been resolved during the budget process. The Board of County Commissioners is still willing to meet with your office to discuss their needs and identify these excess costs and meet all the financial needs of this very important program. With all this said, we do not want to distract from the fact that your office has, in the last 8 years, with limited resources of the county, increased its staff by 11 employees, a 12% increase, 95 to 106, reopened the precinct and bail fare, replaced 75% of an aging motor vehicle fleet, added corporals for mid-management support to your chain of command, increased command staff salaries to levels matching comparable counties, added video cameras to all vehicles, received Washington Association of Sheriff and Police Chief accreditation, successfully negotiated a deputy guild contract, which was approved by guild participants after mediation and neither implemented nor forced into practice by the Public Employee Perk Board. Public Employee Don't remember what the R stands for. Deployed a successful courthouse security and weapons screening program. Continues a very successful litter collection program throughout the county. Added a boating patrol to dramatically improve the sex offender program. Developed a now nationally acclaimed animal control program. Developed SWAT and canine teams. Spearheaded a jail renovation project that will ultimately increase jail capacity by 44 beds. Outstanding budget issues for Mason County. The most important short-term issue facing the county and the sheriff's budget is the cost of outsourcing a portion of the inmate population in the jail. Outsourcing is the result of two distinct problems. The first is a staffing problem, in which there is an overall lack of correctional deputies, predominantly female, needed to supervise the female inmate population. The second is the delays in completing the expansion upgrades currently under construction in the jail. This reduces the already limited bed capacity while under construction and delays the date when we have the ability to expand the same capacity. The impact this issue has on the sheriff's budget is yet to be understood. Depending on staffing levels, inmate incarceration days, and continued construction delays, all having a bearing on the costs that will be incurred by the sheriff's office, most of which is not budgeted for and could be in excess of many hundreds of thousands of dollars. When the monetary impact is quantified, a budget supplement will need to be processed to fund these unknown and unexpected costs. Did you want to start that one?
The midterm issues facing Mason County is the ability to manage the impact of the economics of the county as a whole and how each department functions within that framework. It is the absolute responsibility of the Commission to project, guide, and manage the finances of the entire county and balance public safety, public health, public services in an economic environment where jobs and job security in Mason County are still a problem and criminal justice is still underfunded. The leadership of the Board of County Commissioners is necessary to direct the conversation, necessary to face these issues and develop solutions to them, then submit them to the public and respond to the wishes of its citizens. The real issue is the need to address the long-term criminal justice needs of this community as it relates not just to the sheriff's office, but to the courts, alternative sentencing, alternative courts, the prosecutor's office, indigent defense, probation, and juvenile justice. As identified by the Criminal Justice Advisory Task Force recommendations, a criminal justice center is needed in Mason County to expand the capacity of the jails, the courts, probation, and other public safety demands. This is going to take a public conversation to recognize the desire of the citizens of Mason County to fund a criminal justice center, utilizing either a levy, a lid lift, a criminal justice sales tax, and/or long-term general obligation bonds. These revenue sources will need to be discussed as a possible funding mechanism. It is the sincere desire of the Board of County Commissioners to have this conversation with the Sheriff's Office. The Board of County Commissioners were elected by the citizens of Mason County to make decisions for the well-being and safety of our community. Lest we not forget, we need to trust the decisions they make, discuss them in a public forum, identify solutions, and react accordingly for the betterment of those who live in Mason County. No one body of government is perfect, but the goals are the same: protection and pride in our community. Our goal is to make Mason County a safe place to call home, an economically vibrant community, and a place to be proud of.
Is there anybody else that would like to testify on this issue?
Under Sheriff Barrett, Mason County Sheriff's Office. I'd like to just comment briefly that this letter, if the second portion in which communication and projecting the needs, goals, and objectives of the county, the latter part of the letter is absolutely fine. We have no contentions with that. That's exactly how government should be working and what the citizens expect. I have problems with the language in the very front end. In our release, we had 5 categories that we asked about funding in. We didn't provide narratives. We just said this dollar amount isn't matching with this dollar amount. In the 3.5 weeks since, a long narrative ripe with your beliefs on how things happened don't square up with what we believe factually through the preliminary budget process, which was a 90-page document we prepared and never were allowed to deliver. There are many other assertions in here that don't square up with the records, whether they were briefings at the board level, discussions at the budgetary level. we started briefing for supplemental costs for the jail back in April of 2015. We knew that those costs were going to be large. They ended up being close to $700,000. A supplemental at the end of the year for the $300,000 was authorized, but then we didn't get to count that into your budget instructions, which was only the 630 operating. Those unused wages and benefits that we talk about, they covered many of these operations, requiring less supplemental requests to be done. The bifold budget instructions that came after the fact to us, when we're doing nearly a $14 million budget, in order to stop gears and just know all the ramifications of a change in budget process and get it done in a week or less, that's difficult to do. We knew there were going to be all kinds of anomalies. The boating fund is just one of them. So my problem is this: in 3.5 weeks, nobody has contacted us to talk about this issue, to try and get clarifying events before a long letter was authorized. I agree with the last two parts. That's the way business ought to be going. It's where we should be doing. But the first pages, we have all kinds of data and other facts that can either offset what the board's asserting or what is written in here. So I would say before you go out and print something, perhaps we should do what the latter part says, which is sit down and actually discuss where those differences are, why they occur, and what we need to do about them. Thank you.
Undersheriff, one thing I'd like to add on that, it would have been nice, you're correct, if we could have had a better discussion. But that isn't how it was chosen to go, not by our action. You guys decided to do it through a press release, dump it on us. You didn't have conversations with us. It was your choice. The sad part about this, right now, that I'm sad about is, I was hoping that we did it as a conversation. It was meant to go to the sheriff. I don't like how we're doing it right now. This is not the way I wanted it to be. The way we wanted it to be was a conversation, but the way it works in county government sometimes is these things happen. It has to be public. If somebody's going to sign it on behalf of the county, it has to go forward. And then it ends up being read, which I'm very uncomfortable with, but it's the way it works. We can have the conversation anytime. You know, we have briefings. Anytime you would like to sit down and talk with us, just like back then, we would have sat and talked with you. We've never denied that. The only time there was ever an issue was when all the paperwork was not turned in for a budget review by the commission, as every other department had done. And we could not meet with you on information that we didn't even have in front of us yet. Because we flat didn't even have information in front of us. And the presentation that you put on, I was there. Remember, I did show up, and it was 90 minutes, I think it was longer than that, but even with that being said, that was not what the budget meetings were. That was a discussion between the commission and the departments to try and work out how to do the budget, not for a proposal. As you guys said yourself, the intention was to do it and bring it out to them publicly and get the people involved and show us that way and teach us that way. It wasn't a budget negotiation. You had a different agenda at the time. Now, it may have worked or may not, I don't know. But I do know that that's not how we can do it as a commission. We have to look at the numbers, then we discuss why the difference in the numbers is needed. And then we make the decision based on whether or not we can justify those numbers. Because we can't just give over money just because somebody says so. In everybody else's, they had a narrative to explain what they were asking for. And again, you know, everybody did it.
And we'll agree on numerous points as to what you just said. That 90-minute presentation, we were provided and allotted the same amount of time that a $1 million or less budget program has, that a $14 million budget program has. There was much private and public consternation about our preliminary budget. The sheriff and or any other elected official by law can submit their preliminary budget as they see fit, which the sheriff chose to do. Then you negotiate backwards. But our allotted time for that presentation in which he submitted his lawfully provided budget was canceled on him and then rescheduled when everybody knew he and his staff was already obligated to a WASPIC obligation that they'd already paid for that training. So we can sit and go back and forth about the differences all day long, okay? My point is this: right now, we identified things. The numbers aren't squaring up. We've done 3 months of analysis of our budgets, contractually, outsourcing costs, car issues, all these things. And the sheriff rightly came here saying he does not believe that the budget directed by the board will meet, by the end of the year, what is necessary. That's what has to be hammered out and discussed, and that's what we're trying to do, and that's why we brought that document over in very simple terms to get the discussion going. But we didn't hear anything for 3.5 weeks to be able to try and have that discussion.
I'm sorry, Undersheriff, but you didn't just bring that document over. You dropped it on us without any pre-warning again, and you did it to the press and everything else.
It was in a briefing, sir.
To make it, I know. Without any pre-warning, you just dropped it on us without us getting a chance to look at it and understand it, and then it was let out as a press release again in order to make it a public battle, which is fine. You're entitled to do that. But as for the numbers, we've gone through also, and we verified our numbers with the auditor's department, and the only numbers that really matter is not yours. It's not mine. It's not the sheriff's. The county's numbers are the only ones that matter, and they're the only ones that count. When the auditor comes in, that's the only one that they care about, not your opinion.
And I would love to sit down with the person in the auditor's office that came up with those numbers and how they came up with those. And
we could all sit down together. I would love to.
Appreciate it.
Is there any other testimony?
Mary Jean Herbacek, I didn't get to finish, I just asked about the reading.
Oh, my apologies.
I guess this discussion in the past has just pointed out one thing, that there's a failure to communicate. And that's something that as elected officials, all of you need to sit down and do, because the citizens shouldn't have to even listen to all this stuff. This is stuff you guys are paid to do. The other thing that I think that the citizens need to be aware of, and that I know that the commission is aware of, is that the sheriff can't say who gets arrested in this county. The sheriff can't say who gets put into jail. The sheriff can't say who's going to get sick and get a $100,000 bill for a heart operation while they're in custody. But the sheriff, by law, is responsible for any debts incurred by the sheriff's office. So if he has to make adjustments to his budget because the money isn't coming from another place or isn't there, then I think that's his responsibility. After that, he comes to you. But short of that, he's doing what he's supposed to do. And I think the commission and the sheriffs need to sit down and talk about it. Thank you.
Mary Jean, I would agree with you, and as you know from me, I'll sit down with anybody, even if they're yelling at me. That's what I do. They could yell right at my face, and I'll still show up and do it again. So I'm willing to, at any time.
Is there any other testimony? Pardon me? Commissioner Sheldon, are you still on the phone?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I just want to make a comment.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I'm going to make a comment first. I just wanted to make sure you were there. I hadn't heard from you.
Yes, I'd like to make one as well.
No, okay. The budget instructions issued out in June indicated it would be a 2 bottom line budget, operations and maintenance, salaries and wages, so it wasn't a surprise in the 6 months ensuing. I'm told that that was the norm in this county up to about 2009, so it's not a new and novel idea. I think our letter explains why it was important, and I do think it was important for us to outline the biggest difference right now. All the language we're talking about, the biggest difference in my mind is that wages and benefits were overstated by $420,000. That ER&R was overstated, over budgeted by $100,000 in 2015. Shame on all of us for not catching that in 2015. But to move those wrong numbers to another budget and call that your baseline is just not responsible. All the other pieces there, you know, the fact that outsourcing our inmate population is going to cost a lot of money. We acknowledged that as a commission by putting in $300,000 into the budget for 2016. This is a new cost to us. I think that was historically around $20,000. This is a very new cost for us, and I believe that we stepped up and said, yes, we acknowledge we have a problem in the jail, and you're going to need at least $300,000. Our hope was that we could manage within that $300,000, but as Ms. Herbacek says, the sheriff does not get to decide, how many people get arrested. And we're hopeful that we can manage that outsourcing. It could get, I'm told we're on par for $1 million a year this year. But those are the three issues I really wanted to highlight that are important for me. Wages were overstated, ER&R was overstated to a total of about $520,000. That's not an amount to sneeze at. And then the two bottom line is just a function of how can we make sure we know what does it cost to run this county, wages and benefits, operations and maintenance. Personnel is a huge cost in this county. We've got to make sure we know what the true cost is of personnel to run this county. Are there any other comments or deliberations? Commissioner Sheldon?
Yes, I'd like to make a comment. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, I have to repeat, first of all, what I said. I think the first sentence of the letter is incorrect. I mean, it technically is correct, sure, that the Board of County Commissioners has the ultimate responsibility for the budget, but I think it's a shared responsibility of all the elected and the department heads with the Board of County Commissioners to develop the budget. And I really feel that these difficulties that, and I think it's Commissioner Jeffries and Commissioner Netherland have these difficulties with the sheriff, that this letter really exacerbates, makes the problem worse. And when the Board of County Commissioners, you, Madam Chair, and Commissioner Netherland, use the collective term "we," you are including me, and I don't want to be included as a signator to this letter. The way it's presented, it makes it appear to the public it's from the entire board, and it's not. I will not sign it because I think that we need to repair these difficulties. I've been a commissioner now, this is my 12th year. I've never seen a letter of 5 pages being read at a county commission meeting. It's more like a dueling news release contest here between the two entities. There is some common ground here, and the common ground is the public. They need to be served, and I think the commission is to micromanage the sheriff's office, and the sheriff has a tremendous responsibility. And in my experience, we've worked very hard to resolve our differences and come to agreement on a budget. This one seems to just continue. And I'll note that I did not sign the budget instructions in June, nor did I vote for this budget. So I do have some issues, obviously, with it, and I don't want my position to be perceived as in favor of this letter. I am not. So I think we have a lot of repairing here to do, and I'm willing to sit down and help to repair these issues. The problems that we have, work on those problems. So I won't be voting for this letter to go out with my name on it.
First things first, on that letter, Mason County processes where the rubber meets the road, managing the resources and expenditures of the entire county is solely the responsibility. How about we change the words to your words, ultimately the responsibility?
Commissioner Netherland, there's a lot in this letter I disagree with.
Okay.
That's one sentence that I picked out, obviously from the very first, which sets I think a very strident tone between the Board of County Commissioners and the Sheriff's Office. Changing one sentence is not going to change this letter. I would prefer that this letter is not sent at all, that we sit down with the sheriff in a briefing session again and work on some of the issues. I can tell you that Mason County is a subdivision of the state of Washington, right? And the state writes a 2-year budget every odd-numbered year. Then a supplemental budget is written, like this year, for the forest fire expenses, mental health, some of the other things. In contrast, the county writes a 1-year budget. obviously each year. Now, the Board of County Commissioners can re-rack their budget at the end of June. They could, at 6 months, as we're nearing now, we just finished the first quarter, we can adjust the budget because, first of all, we have many positions that have not been filled. The Journal just wrote a very long article about all the positions that have been vacated, and now we're looking for new people to fill the positions. So we have saved a lot of money. We need to take a look at the budget in its entirety, and in the letter you do make some points about criminal justice, including indigent defense, probation, the court system, the prosecutor. We need to make some adjustments, and I think that would help us go a long way here if we took another look at this budget. But I just think changing one sentence is not going to change my position, but I'm not going to vote for this letter. Thank you.
And that's fine. Commissioner, there's been many times where there's been comments that I've said that you say you take offense to. And I got to make use your own line on that. You use the term micromanaging. When it comes to the bottom line budget authority and the things we're supposed to do here, I'm going to tell you that for somebody that's not here, I take offense to your concept that we're micromanaging. Your idea of micromanaging might be showing up for work, sir. You need to actually be here and be part of these conversations. I can expect that you don't sign these things. Okay, you don't sign them. A lot of the times you don't sign them because you're not here. But we do our work. We show up every day and put all the efforts. When these numbers came into the public, it was very clear that there was a necessity to get the county's numbers, not my numbers, not Commissioner Jeffrey's numbers, the county's numbers out to the public so that the public can make their decision. The idea of the bottom line, the two separate bottom line budgets, just to share with you and the public, is not that we want to micromanage, but we have to keep control over certain aspects of it. I'm going to give you an example. In the Sheriff's Department last year, in unexpended wages, there was about $550,000. Okay? That's $500,000. Where'd the money go? I do not think that it in any way went any place bad or wrong. But in a budget process, we need to tell the people where this money is spent. We can't just give anybody an amount of money like that and say you can spend it how you think fit. There's a public process for a budget. And $500,000 is a lot. And that was a good year last year. We as a commission see this issue and say we have to fix it and just make it accountable. Show the people where the money's going. That's why we have a budget process. That's why we're demanded to have a budget process. If we do not show the people where the money is, why don't we just come together and just start writing out checks according to how we want? We can't do that, and neither can any other department. This whole thing has hurt some of the other departments, and there's some flaws in how we've done it, but we had to do something. Right now, I know that this restriction has made it a little harder on places like the auditor's office and stuff because they need to depend on using some of that money that they would use as wages more easily. And I'd like to put something together in the near future, and we've had some discussions on it, on giving them amount of money of those wages they could use for whatever funds are necessary so they don't have to come to the commission for everything. But bear in mind, they're not completely without the ability to use funds anyway. In different departments, they have a smaller amount they use for operations. At the Sheriff's Department, we're talking about $3.2 to $3.8 million that they still have budget-line authority on, that they can still cut the check how they want, and we can't do nothing about it. So it's not like we've just stopped them from being able to maneuver or to handle. We do have to be accountable to the people. I have people ask me all the time where the money is. I wouldn't know, and we should know. Again, I think they used it for good stuff. I have no doubt about that. But I still have to answer to the people, and so does everybody else. The governor himself does not get $500,000 or $1 million that he can spend however he wants. So neither can our sheriff or any other department. But again, I'm not saying they did anything wrong. This is the way business has been done for a long time. But my job as a commissioner is not to run and just get reelected. My job is to do the job, which is to protect that money and make sure it's spent accordingly. So with that, the reason for this letter was not to call them out or to beat anybody up, but to actually have a response to the numbers, because if we are silent completely, then the public just has these other numbers, and that's all they go off of. And those numbers are incorrect. We've had them verified and double-checked. They're incorrect. The county's numbers are the only numbers that matter. So with that, Madam Commissioner, I would like to make a motion to approve item number 8.9, approval to authorize the chair to sign a response letter to the Mason County Sheriff regarding the 2016 budget, not as a means of slapping them, but as a means of actually communicating with them again. And hopefully we can sit down and talk about all this stuff. Nobody's done anything wrong on this side, but we have to account for all these things. And if there's a need, we need to fix it so they can maneuver the money how they need to within the framework.
Madam Chair?
There's a motion on the table.
Yes, Madam Chair. I'd like to amend the motion to have the letter signed by the chair and Commissioner Netherland, and Commissioner Sheldon be allowed to decline to sign.
The commission is the commission. I'm sorry.
Okay. There's no second to your amendment, or no acceptance from the motion maker of your proposed amendment. Is there a second to the amendment on the table?
I'm not going to second the motion then, because Commissioners, you are not providing me a voice.
Okay. So I'm going to second the motion. It's been moved and seconded to approval to authorize the chair to sign a response letter to the Mason County Sheriff regarding the 2016 budget. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair, there is. I think this can be resolved amicably. I do not see the benefit in writing a letter which is basically a response to another press release. In 12 years as a county commissioner, I've never seen relationships this poor between commissioners, you and Commissioner Netherland, and another elected official. And I just think the public deserves better.
Wow, I can tell you, Commissioner, I can remember your relationships with Linda Ring Erickson and other people throughout the years. I've read the paper.
So, it's unfortunately,
You can take shots at me if you want.
Okay,
but
okay,
I'm just not gonna sign
okay,
your
we're
letter.
not going to get personal
So
here.
I'm just not going to sign your letter.
Thank you. And you were not asked to sign, it was authorizing the chair to sign. It's been moved and seconded to approve authorize the chair to sign a response letter to the Mason County Sheriff regarding the 2016 budget. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays signify by saying aye
No.
or no. Motion carries.